What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Creatures of Habit podcast. I'm happy to be back in the studio in New York City, in Times Square of all places. Today, I've got a guest on the show that I've wanted to interview for a long time for Creatures of Habit. He is I would argue to say a quintessential creature of habit. The guy is crushing it in the game of podcasting. His name is Chase Chewning. You've probably heard of him from his podcast, Ever Forward Radio. He's about 6 years in on the podcast. He is an East Coaster, just like me. Came up in Virginia, then ended up in DC, went to the Army, did 6 years active service, and then he created a career in clinical health coaching. We were just talking about it. He was actually running around and creating programming for fire departments, which I think is an awesome, really amazing service and a really cool thing to be able to do as your career, really helping frontliners be healthier. Anyway, Ever Forward Radio really does interview a lot of incredible people, all revolving around the world of wellness. So I was lucky enough to be on the show. Chase and I became buddies, and man, welcome to the show.
That's probably the most inclusive intro bio I've ever heard. So appreciate you, man. Good to be here.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. In New York, New York.
I know. You know, it's only taken me about 8 years of visiting the city, and I finally got the metro down. I've been like turnstiling like a pro day in, day out, except when I have to transfer trains, and I don't trust myself and pop up and get an Uber. But here we are.
You know, I'm born and raised in Manhattan.
Yeah.
I've spent my life in this awesome town. Now I live about 2.5 hours north. One thing that I've been talking a lot about on social media, it has a lot, and it really plays into this habit lifestyle. It's been really polarizing to me now living in rural New York. Walking is so important for my mental health. Mm-hmm. And when I lived in New York City, walking is like, I mean, when I come here, I do not take the train. Oh. I literally walk everywhere.
You're a purist New Yorker, huh?
I walk everywhere, and it wasn't always like that. But now that I don't live here anymore, for me to be able to walk around the city, put on my headphones, I get like 25,000 steps every day that I'm here in New York. I love walking around the city, but it's really tough for me to see, like, if you don't live in a metropolitan city, walking is really hard. It has to be so intentional.
Yeah.
You know?
Luckily, I'm with you. I live in Los Angeles, and I haven't had a car in like 5 years. My wife and I just share one. It's her car, really. And so I'm walking everywhere. You know, if it's a mile to 2, I'm still kind of hoofing it a little bit. And I'm with you. I'll still get some of those crazy high footstep counts. I'm like, damn, I feel like usually only get that high if I'm like overseas on vacation, exploring a city or something like that. But it is kind of one of those things that you don't really think about, that you do kind of take for granted when it comes to how one can maintain a certain body weight, body composition, sanity, mental health. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got so much going for us by just moving our 2 feet all day.
I would argue to say that walking, well, it's no news, right? Mm-hmm. Walking is pretty much like all you really need to do, combined with a healthy diet, to actually stay fit.
I actually had this conversation with my wife the other day. We were talking, I forget what we were talking about. I think I just come off an interview with my show, and it was like this neuroscientist guest, and it was all this crazy science and crazy data, right? And at the end of the day, end of the conversation boiled down to, so what you're saying is, I'm gonna like not even pretend to like restate all the science, but it was just like, take a walk, get outside,
right?
And I was like, if I had to give one piece of advice for anybody, la-di-da-di, everybody, regardless of what your age is, pre-existing conditions, wellness goals, just take a walk.
Yep.
That is the best thing we could ever do, and has the most ripple effect for physical, mental, emotional well-being that I don't know if we'll ever fully realize. But one fun fact, I did come across this study forever ago that basically was like, you take a walk, and we know that 30 to 40 minutes is kind of that magic spot for qualifying as exercise, low intensity, steady state cardio. But the gravitational force for pretty much every human being at about 40 minutes plus, regardless of where you are on the earth, regardless of your height, your weight, whatever, has this reverb effect that is basically a reverse kinetic chain energetic push from your heel striking the ground, going up your body into your brain that stimulates, I believe it's theta, like a theta wave state. So it's, you know how people say like, oh, walking is so therapeutic. I feel so much better. I'm getting these ideas. You're basically like meditating. It's that sweet spot for the body, but also the sweet spot for the mind.
You know, I mean, I believe that wholeheartedly. And obviously there's a distinguishing component from anyone who's looking to like perform at a specific sport.
Right, yeah.
Attain a very specific aesthetic goal. But, you know, for me, because now I live upstate, if I don't schedule a walk, which I do every day at 4:30, it is like my time. I walk from 4:30 to 5:30 every single day.
Beautiful.
If I don't actually schedule it, it doesn't happen, and I'm just not at my best.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just not. So like what you're saying here is walking is like it's like a mental, physical, and spiritual experience.
Yeah.
For it's and apparently now it's scientifically.
It's that sweet spot of, like I said, we know at this duration for the vast majority of people, it's going to consistently equate to healthy weight maintenance, basically. But also at that time, and no matter, again, where you are on the planet, it's just this gravitational sweet spot of actually kind of getting some feedback that really does wonders for your brain, your mental health, brain health as well at the same time.
It's a great segue into the premise of this show. So, you know, Creatures of Habit podcast, really, I get a chance to sit down with people like you, people who inspire me, people that are inspiring others at scale, to talk about habits, to talk about specifically morning routine, evening routine, a few habits that you do throughout your day on a consistent basis that really help keep you focused and on your game, and a habit that you've broken that's made an impact in your life. So why don't we kick it off with your morning routine?
I'm sure you probably have a lot of spillover on guests that say it, because I feel like at some point the morning routine is kind of a through line for most people. Maybe you've got one off, but without kind of going down too much of a rabbit hole, I wake up at the same time pretty much every day. You know, my sleep health, bedtime routine allows me to kind of get up around the same time. So naturally I'm waking up between like 6:45 and 7:30, which is wild. Like unless I got to get up really early for a flight, I haven't set an alarm in 4 years. So waking up naturally, I have a lot of natural energy. So I immediately pop up, I'm doing that, chugging a big glass of water that I've got set out right next to my bed. Then going to do number one, business, nature calls. Staying regular is very important, everybody. And then, you know, that's like the first 10 minutes of my day. Within the first 20, 25 minutes of my day, I'm grabbing the dog, going outside so she can do her thing, but also getting my morning walk in, getting sunlight, kind of resetting that circadian rhythm. And then I'm coming back and, man, we could do a whole episode on what I put in my water next, but I got this little morning health cocktail, some greens, some electrolytes, functional mushrooms, adaptogens like ashwagandha. Yeah, that's usually about it. That kind of goes in. Depending on the day, like I might add a little extra some, like I need more energy, need more mental focus, need whatever. And then it's just kind of easing into the day. I've actually recently been a big fan in the morning of adding a scent, a smell, like lighting an incense kind of thing. It's like a gong. It's like, hey, officially it's today, officially it's the morning. Let's kind of, you know, stimulate the senses in another way. And then that's just my time. I used to really try to cram a lot of like what's the best morning routine into the morning. I need to meditate. I need to journal. I need to reflect. I need to goal set. I need to knock out the most important emails or whatever. But I really just make the time to see what I need to do, what I'm really kind of feeling. And then usually around like 9 a.m., I'm kind of diving into actual work.
I love it. You know, I love that you brought up the scent, because I've found that for me, lighting a scented candle has been such a, I kind of do it everywhere I go.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah. I remember seeing you last time. That was kind of a thing. I was like, huh, Michael does it too. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's for whatever reason, I feel like figuring out a way to create an environment where you're going to be optimal. No one ever thinks of scent. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like, oh, you know, like I want to play some music. I want to like make sure that the lighting's right. I want to make sure that like I'm in a place where I could focus. And I just found that like, actually it's funny. This company called, I think it's called Guy Fawkes. It's like a candle brand. They just randomly sent me a ton of candles. And like I had never.
Yo, that's how you made it, man. That's the next level. I need a candle guy.
I had just never like been a scented candle person, and then randomly I get this package like 2 or 3 years ago with like 7 or 8 scented candles, and I was like, I'm gonna start lighting these things, and sure enough, I use Guy Fawkes candles all the time. I love them. This is not an ad. Like they do not pay me anything. I just love their candles, and so I have one at my office. I have one on the breakfast nook at home.
There you go.
And
do you have different scents for each one? So like each room's a different kind of mood.
You know, the truth is that like I don't even really pay attention to which one I'm using. I just kind of grab one and just light it. But I love them all. They all smell really good. But I really do feel like that. You know, like I use an example. When I go into the sauna, the smell of that warm cedar makes me feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, you know, like anytime I smell warm cedar now, I'm like, ooh, that's a scent that makes me feel good.
Well, scent is our strongest sense that has the most imprint on any kind of association. We're doing like memory imprinting. That's like if you ever smelled something and immediately takes you back to like, oh God, this reminds me of my grandparents' basement, or this reminds me of you know, my middle school dance, the catering or something, or like, you know, every morning for me, like why I have such a strong affinity towards coffee because, well, I mean, it's coffee and amazing, is growing up, my dad, after he was in the Army, he got out, opened up like 4 or 5 coffee houses. And so I've got all these years of memories tied to waking up hella early, begrudgingly as a 12, 13, 14-year-old. But I would go in, I would make coffee with my dad. And he's no longer here, unfortunately. And so for me, it's like I smell that, and I just get all these great memories.
That's so cool.
Scent is so powerful. And I think it's something that we all sleep on when it comes to habits and kind of really setting an intention. For me, recently, I've been kind of rediscovering the word sensual. Sensual literally just means incorporating the senses. You know, might be getting some lovey-dovey, you know, they're sensual for that too. But I mean, when you think sensual in that intimate way, typically we're thinking utilizing a lot of other things, touch, smell, taste. But you can tap into being sensual in habit stacking to really kind of, I think, take it next level. Because for me, I know the routine, right? I know what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it. But when I light that incense, tap into another scent, literally, my whole demeanor is changed. And I go, now it's morning time. This is the start.
You know, one scent that I wish I could somehow figure out a way to recreate on a regular basis because it really does remind me so much of my childhood is wet cement.
What?
Yeah. Like after it's rained,
I was not
especially
not gonna guess that.
Well, check this out. So I grew up in the city, right? I grew up in the concrete jungle, and in the summertime, after a serious rain stops. It's warm.
Yeah.
So it's hot, and the warmth from the way like somehow the water precipitates off the wet cement creates a scent that brings me right back to my childhood. It's so crazy. Whenever I smell like wet cement on a summer day, I'm like, damn, that reminds me of the playground.
See, I was gonna guess like meatballs or something. But, you know, I'm sure they got. Yeah, anybody wants to send them a meatball candle.
This one scent, it's just so nostalgic for me. It's so interesting that like you said that, you know, like scent is, you know, makes the biggest imprint on our memory. And so it just immediately said, boom, wet cement in the summertime, New York City. Like,
watch, someone's going to slide into your DMs now. Hey, I made you a custom wet cement candle. Like, you know, watch out, world.
One thing that I want to just dive into real quick before we step into some other habit combos is that concoction that you talked about, that what you put into it. I'd love to just know what you put in it, because I've got a bunch of crazy concoctions too.
I think we got some crossover as well.
Okay.
So for me, I mean, through the years, I've tried a lot of different things, and I think a really important thing I want to say about habits overall is that I might say something right here, right now that's going to resonate with somebody that they're like, yes, cool, I do that too, validation, or, oh, I've been thinking about that, or maybe something you say. At least that was me when I was really trying to formulate and establish good habits, healthy habits. I was trying to just cram everybody's morning routine into mine. I was trying to do all the health. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I probably made sludge water instead of, something that I could actually down the hatch with. It's good for me. It's good for me. But over the years, I pick and pull, and I take things from people that I trust, but also trying things and paying attention to my body. So that's my long-winded disclaimer of where I'm at right now. So for me, I've been a big fan of AG1 Athletic Greens for like a year and a half now. So I first start with purified water. I got a great charcoal filter system. So quality water is number one. AG1 to get all my greens, some adaptogens, some probiotics, prebiotics, things like that. Then most days I'm actually dropping in Element. Sodium, magnesium, potassium, recharged by Element. I mean, it's just, I love the flavors. It's so easy.
What's your flavor?
Honestly, lately I've been on an orange kick. Randomly, I used to not like it at all. But really, I mean, watermelon.
Watermelon all day. Watermelon all day.
Watermelon. So have you tried the hot chocolate ones?
No.
Oh.
Melissa Urban has been telling me that I got to try the hot ones.
They did it over the winter. They had like a caramel. They had a chocolate mint, and anything with mint. I mean, you could put mint on a wet cement candle, and I would love it. You put mint on anything, I'm in. But that in like hot coffee.
Dude, you can't say just wet cement. It's got to be wet cement on a hot summer day in New York City.
There's not enough room on the label for that. Yeah. But so good water, AG1, the greens, electrolytes from Element. And then I drop in pretty much every day some functional mushrooms, like I said. So I use chaga, lion's mane, reishi. And then actually for like the last almost 2 years, adding in ashwagandha has been great. For
in the morning.
In the morning. And then depending on the day, how wild the day gets, I'll add it in maybe in the afternoon. It's a great stress management, lowers cortisol. It's an adaptogen. So it means if you're running high, it'll bring it down to your, not low, but your homeostasis. If you're running low, it'll bring you up. I love ashwagandha. And then, functional mushrooms really are kind of the staple. And then depending on like, if I really need to get started with work right away, depending on the day of the week kind of dictates what I'm doing. So for me, pretty much every Monday, I'm definitely adding in HVMN, Ketone IQ, because Mondays for me are just standing calls, production team calls, admin, scheduling, boring death by laptop kind of for like hours. So I need that. I want that extra brain fuel, but I don't want to just, have a debt to pay later and mess up my evening routine, mess up my sleep, like going wild with the caffeine. So I'll have usually all of that before my first cup of coffee, which is, I try not to have any caffeine for the first 60 minimum, ideally 90 minutes of the day, again, for helping keep my circadian rhythm in check. Yeah, and then actually for a while now, too, I've been adding in collagen. I went through a really, really in-depth genetics testing, metabolic
Wild Health.
Yeah.
Me too.
We're like the same person.
I mean, literally, we are the same person.
Went through Wild Health.
I think we might be. I think we might be the same person.
I mean, I'm missing about probably 50 tattoos. Only got 2, but soon, maybe year 5, LA Chase will get there.
Let's go.
But yeah, so I went through this panel and I found out some like unique things, very unique to me.
Did they tell you to like, you've got to up your omegas? Are you eating sardines too?
No, mine was actually good. I was good.
Okay, yeah. I got like, because CrossFit's been my new thing.
Yeah,
they were basically like, you're doing CrossFit, you're already a kind of a crusher. You need to be eating way more omega-3s.
Interesting. I mean, I think most people honestly could benefit from more omega-3s for a lot of different reasons. Especially now we're seeing a lot, in brain health, which isn't really news, but. The vast majority of people could benefit from brain health improvements. But really adding in collagen.
Yeah, they made me do that too.
Adding in collagen. They made you.
Yes, they like held me at gunpoint.
They telehealth twist your arm.
Yeah, they could basically like.
But adding in collagen now most mornings. I'm a big fan of Bub's Naturals. Some guys out of Southern California. Did you ever see the movie 13 Hours about the Benghazi attack?
I'm not sure.
No? Well, there's a character, a guy in there who was a special forces operator, Glenn Doherty. His call sign was Bubs, who died in that incident. And some homies of his kind of honored him and created this great, it's an MCT oil powder. And then they've got some collagen too. So
that's cool.
I use them. I love the product. It's great. It's like super clean and wonderful. Then also I love the cause behind it as well.
Yeah, we did a really awesome giveaway with the Bubs guys.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah.
Creatures.
Yeah.
I love
Sean
that.
and TJ. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for the breakdown. The majority of the people that are listening to this podcast are already like really focused on this stuff, right? Like I've learned through just, the research that we've done on the people that listen. A lot of people that listen to the podcast are already either living that optimized lifestyle or like walking the path and wanna really understand,
figuring it out and fine tuning. Yeah, and again, I'll say it's a lot of that stuff is always the same, but I'm a big fan. I found a lot of value in really checking in with myself that day beyond like what is the day, what's on my schedule, so I know what I want to demand more of. But really, just how am I feeling? Am I feeling super energetic? Am I feeling super great and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed? Okay, cool. Maybe I don't need some of these other things.
Yeah.
But if I do feel like I need a little some extra, I got the resources at my disposal.
What does your evening routine look like?
Again, scent. Lately for me, and I say lately, it's been like probably the last like 2 years. I'm really falling in love with dusk. That time of the day. My house in LA, it's like got the perfect front windows, and it's just the second the sun begins to go down, the whole house knows. I got great windows up front. So that's my kind of marker of like, all right, Chase, my wife is going to be home probably in about an hour or so. So it's my kind of marker to like wind down what I'm doing and the day. I go up to the front of the house. I've got a different scent for the incense on this one. So for me, that's my scent gong basically to go, all right, end of the day, begin the evening ritual. So the evening ritual for me kind of begins at sundown, 6-ish, 7 kind of thing. But then after that, it's really, I think a lot of the same stuff, blue light blockers. Once it actually does get dark, I begin to kind of wean down the water because I don't want to pop up out of bed, have to go to leak all the time. And again, depending on how the day has treated me, or I treated the day, what I demanded of myself or what was demanded of me, honestly, I think my sleep routine is probably way more in depth in terms of what I would actually use. Reishi, functional mushroom again, magnesium, zinc, CBN actually. So today, great example, I'm flying back to LA from New York. I'm going to want a little extra help to kind of transition over. So I'll probably go max dose on my sleep aid, which is magnesium, zinc, CBD, chamomile, and reishi mushroom. I'll also
is that like individual things that you?
It's one product from this brand called Cured Nutrition.
Okay,
it's called Zen. And it's like a 1 to 3 capsule kind of thing. On a day like today, I'll take the full 3 capsules. I'll also add in 1, if not 2 capsules of their nighttime, like CBN gel capsule. Because I really want to really make sure I not only get to sleep, but stay asleep, but get quality sleep at the same time. And I just don't want to zonk out for the sake of zonking out. I want something that's actually going to, like, again, reset circadian rhythm so I can get up tomorrow and get right back into my routine again. Cutting off all the lights as much as possible in the house. I like to turn on this like white noise machine in a couple of the rooms. Again, it's just like another sound thing. That's a trigger for me that helps me kind of chill out.
We're the same person.
Yeah. We probably got the same Amazon shopping list. I almost brought one with me when I travel too. It's like a little
The white noise?
Yeah. I found a pretty good app on my phone with it. And then weather dependent. If I'm want to get cozy, I've got a great hot cacao reishi drink that I'll make as well. Usually add in collagen again from Bubs, or I found this great new product for me from this brand called Paleo Valley. It's a chocolate bone broth protein that I'll add into the reishi hot cacao. So it's a nice little bonus too. I mean, bone broth is so good for you. It's got just quintessential vitamins, minerals, nutrients. Also really important for me, going with a lot of like bone broth items and organ meats. I get really bad migraines, like exertion migraines. And when I really level up those things, it kind of helps keep them at bay a little bit more. Plus it's great extra protein. So I know I'm kind of getting a little, trying to get jacked like you, Yeah. And then in bed, really, I'm in bed by 10 o'clock, asleep between 10 and 11, if I'm reading or talking with my wife or, trying to get her to shut off TikTok or something.
Are you a sleep mask guy?
Oh, yeah. I got to say, if anyone's looking for what is one thing I can do right now to radically improve my sleep health, eye mask.
Big
That
time.
thing, I mean, it seems so, I thought it was this bougie thing that only, you know, high society or girls do. And I was like, oh, like I always see like these massive, giant, nice silk masks. I got this $8, $12 thing off Amazon. It's got little like cutouts for your eyes so it doesn't like put pressure on your eyes. I'm out. My wife will joke sometimes. She goes, you put that on, you go to lay down, you're asleep before you hit the pillow, you're snoring. It's wild.
I mean, like our sleep routine is very similar. The sleep mask for me is an absolute non-negotiable.
The easiest, cheapest hack.
It is like if you don't wear a sleep mask and you start using a sleep mask and you track your sleep, the difference is truly kind of incredible. Now, if you're already using a sleep mask, you know, you just know this, right? So like if I travel and for whatever reason, if I forget my sleep mask, I'm pissed.
You gotta hack yourself. This is what I do. I have
Towel.
one I keep hanging on my bed frame.
Me too.
I keep another one in my luggage, in my like travel carry-on, and I've got a backup that I keep in my backpack that I travel with me at all times.
So there's a you know, I'm gonna give these guys a plug because these guys just sent me a bunch of amazing sleep masks. They're incredible. The brand, it's a very new company. It's called Dream Recovery.
I haven't heard of them.
And they make this sleep mask. I've been using the same sleep mask forever, for 3-4 years. And
Like
it's
literally the same one?
Same one.
Oh, you gotta refresh that shit like every year, man.
Well, dude, it's like a $60.
Wash it.
I wash it every once in a while. Every once in a while. But you know, it's like form fit to my face. I don't know that anyway, these guys reached out to me and they said, hey, you know, we know that you're big on sleep mask, and they sent me a bunch of them. And dude, they are. Just check out Dream Recovery.
Dream Recovery, okay.
Yeah, it's very, very good stuff. We also, Creatures of Habit has a really cool new product that we're going to pop out. I'm going to make sure you get your hands on.
Man.
It's not coming out for a little while, but it falls in that sleep zone.
Sleep, we might get into this, but again, one thing for the physical self, everybody, walk. One thing for everybody for all forms of health, I shit you not, prioritize sleep. When I started prioritizing, I made sleep the top of my like wellness hierarchy about 4 years ago, shortly after I moved to LA. And it really honestly came out of the reasons like I was talking about before. I was in a phase, in a place in my life, in my business to where I felt like I needed to adopt all the habits of all these other people I was looking at. I got to grind. I got to get up I got to have more done by 8 a.m. No shade on you because I know you're an early riser, man, but like I was doing it for their reasons. I was like, I got to have so much more done by 8 a.m. before anybody does before noon, you know?
Well, let me just, real quick, I just want to put because I think this is a great point. The reason why I am so like hardcore focused on that 5 a.m. is because I'm a dad with kids.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah. So once kids come in and they're up at 6:15, 6:30, you can kiss your incense lighting morning lax like time goodbye, right? If you want to get
wiping butts and changing diapers.
Yeah, dude. If you want, well, even then, like my kids are 5 and 7. You know, like there is nothing more that for me as a dad. There is nothing more gratifying and if I could hang out with my kids at the breakfast table and play Yahtzee and Legos and like draw with them forever, I would do that. If someone was like, this is all you can do for the rest of your life, like I have so much fun doing that.
That's so
I'd be
cool,
like,
man.
all right, cool, let's go.
And that's a great time for your inner child to come out and hang out too.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm my number one priority. And I just want to make that a mention and make that clear that it's not selfish to be your number one priority, whether you're a father, a husband, whatever. If you're not the number one priority in your life, if you're not at the top of your totem pole, everything and everyone around you runs the risk of suffering because of your lack of attention on your health and wellness, mentally, physically, spiritually. So like, it's not selfish to be the number one priority in your life. It's actually selfless, because when you can figure out a way to do it that's not interfering with time in their lives, and that's why I wake up at 5. Man, like, you've nailed it, you know? So anyway, back to you.
No, but that's so true. I mean, and that's why, to really kind of like icing on the cake of your statement, that was really the reason why I was doing my habits and morning routines for all the wrong reasons. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm supposed to be more productive. I'm supposed to have a better attitude. I'm supposed to be more successful. I'm supposed to be. But man, I was tired. I was drained. Things were taking longer than usual. And I thought there was just some wall that I had to push through when I would like be the habits guy, and all this stuff would come, you know, ROI after ROI. And I just flipped it on its head. I was like, well, what if I just let my body tell me? So that's when I hung up the alarm clock. That's when I just started waking up, going to bed at the same time, took time for myself in the morning, and just picked and pulled things. Okay, I like that. That used to work for me. Michael's trying something new. Let me insert it here, kind of thing. And, 4 years now, I've kind of built literally my entire life. I've built the life that I love. I've built a more successful life, more successful business, more, engaging relationships by prioritizing sleep. And subsequently prioritizing, like really figuring out what I wanted, how I wanted to achieve it, instead of trying to just copy and paste everybody else's seemingly formula for success. But sleep has the most cascading health and wellness benefits of anything. It might go neck and neck with walking, but I mean, look, we spend about 7 years of our life, 7 to 8 years, maybe more from some people, asleep, your typical lifespan. Day to day, you're spending about 25, now some research is showing even as high as 30% of your daily caloric expenditure happens when you're doing jack shit. When you're passed out, when you're asleep, your brain is doing its thing. So think about that. When you are not doing anything and you spend doing nothing for years of your life, like, there's something to that. Honor that. That's the body, I think, telling us, hey, this is what I need to do, and I'm going to do it whether you like it or not. But if we kind of come on the same page, we're going to really shine together. You're going to wake up with way more natural energy. You're going to be able to go to sleep when you want, wake up when you want. You're going to be more productive. You're going to realize, unless you're just like me and you really love it, you need less and less of this stuff. My caffeine consumption dropped down, headaches, energy, the gym life. I mean, everything just got better when I made sleep king.
So you're sleeping somewhere between 8 and 9 hours a night?
Usually closer to 9. Yeah, but at least 8. Yeah.
It's so interesting. Like, so last night I got 7 hours and 52 minutes of sleep. And for me, I've found the sweet spot for me tends to be around 7, little over 7:15. Now, I haven't given 8 hours of sleep a fair shot. Like, and not that like I haven't wanted to, but I just know that in order to, when I think about my life on a day-to-day basis, really the success of my life is, how do I feel when I get home from work? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that qualitative check-in, man, is so crucial.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the beginning of the day that's going to determine success and happiness. It's, how am I feeling when I walk through the door back home to my family? Like, what is that feeling like? Am I frustrated, pissed off, stoked, fired up to see them? Like, where am I? Where's the barometer on the happy scale for me? Yeah. And 9 out of 10 days, I'm stoked to walk home. I'm like at home, like my phone's in airplane mode at 6 o'clock. I'm like focused on them. Sometimes my wife had to like snap like check me back in.
Yeah.
But I have to correlate it to all that crazy shit I do in the morning, because like I always sort of draw the analogy, right? Like, foundation is crucial. You know what I mean? Like, if you were building a structure today, we're in the day and age where concrete, not just wet concrete on a hot summer day in New York City.
Obsessed with concrete.
But like concrete is a thing that we all have access to. Yeah. You know, when you're thinking about building a structure, right? Building a building, you're going to want to pour a really solid slab of concrete so that it's flat, it's even, it's hard, it withstands the elements. You know, you're gonna want to do that every time. You really are. And if you didn't do that and you were to say, fuck it, let's just build this thing on dirt, well then every time it rains, that dirt is gonna turn to mud at some level, and you're just gonna the structure's gonna start to, you know, not be balanced, and it's gonna sink in some areas, right? And then it's gonna dry up, and then it's gonna pop back up a little bit. You might feel a little bit good, but then it rains again, and it's just like boom, it just starts to sink again. And I kind of think about the day like that, right? In the morning, you have this opportunity to pull up the concrete truck and just lay it out, right? And just pour it out, let it set, and then start building. And for me, I am an extreme version of this, and I also will say that I think it's because I'm a full-fledged recovering alcoholic and addict, right? Like I've been sober for a long time, but like my inherent direction is extreme. You know?
And it's good to know about yourself. Biggest takeaway out of what you just said for me, and I hope the listener can pick up on, is how many of us go through life, go through hell, just a day, and we struggle with making sense of it. We struggle with, how do I feel about today? Was I successful? Did I come closer to my goals? Do I even know what my goals are? Did I, do well at my job? Did I check in with my family? Did I check in with myself? There's so much inner chatter that you can't deny we all have. And to some degree, I would argue that we all, I think at the end of the day, kind of reflect back on that subconsciously or consciously. And then when we do, what's the next logical step in the human experience? To try to change it. I didn't really like that. Let me try to come up with something that I can work on to change. Or I did like this, let me maintain it. If every part of your day is a different variable, day in, day out, you are setting yourself up for the least amount of success because you don't even know where to start. And that's when you try to change this, manipulate that, more of this, less of that. You're changing every gadget, everything on your human dashboard, hoping that it's just going to make you better. But with that foundation, you always know where to go to start. And it sounds like crazy. It sounds like some people think, oh, you're so extreme. Michael, you're so extreme, Chase. But truly discipline equals freedom here. When we've got that foundation, when we got everything we need to rely on to at least know where to start, I mean, that's at least what I'm after the most. And I feel like building habits and doing all these things, if nothing else, is that discipline, that starting point, that fluid infrastructure that I can always go back to.
Imagine Michael Jordan tried to practice his free throw a different way every single time.
Hell nah. Hell nah.
What do you think that guy does it the same exact way when he was coming up every single time? Yeah, of course he did. And that's not to say that you need to live this robotic life. That's not to say that you need to be a machine and wear blinders everywhere. That's just to say that there are certain parts of our day that we have control over. And the truth is that typically looks like, for most people, early in the morning and right before you go to bed, right? Like once other people and things with opinions are in your either periphery or right in front of you, you don't have control anymore. And I'm not saying you should live your life looking for control everywhere. I'm saying that in the areas where you actually do have control, you should own it. You should own it. And that's why I knew that you were going to be such a great guest on the show because you live that lifestyle. And my message is, hey, there's so little we can control. There's so little we can control. And that's okay. But start taking ownership of the things you can control. Because if you can do that and make discipline like an awesome part of your life, make fear your friend, use fear as motivation as opposed to debilitation, man, like it's a day you get. We get a day. You get one day. Yeah. That's all we get. And we're not even guaranteed the day. But I'm saying
just guaranteed
chances are, you got a day. You got a day to throw numbers up on the board, and if you're not grabbing the bull by the horns and you're allowing, like, you follow your day around as opposed to leading your day, it's tough.
And it reminds me of a phrase we had in the Army, military-wide, really. Anytime we would go to the range, we would have to qualify on our rifles, and even out in the field. No matter how bad you mess up, like I'm trying to shoot right here, and no matter how hard I try, it's way over here. And I try to collect my thoughts and go back to my breathing, and then all of a sudden it's way down here. Odds are I'm looking at different places. I think that I need to readjust my entire way of being and how I approach the target. But what they would tell us is come back to center mass. No matter what your positioning is, no matter what you're doing, changing your front sight, rear sight, whatever, is always keep your aim the same. Coming back to that foundation, come back to the discipline of the same starting point. Because then I can aim center mass every time, and I just manipulate all the other things so that they then come to me and work for me. So I can line up, I keep that same line of sight, and what do? I zero in. I zero in.
Guys, this was a good one. This is gonna be broken into two, so there'll be a part one where we're really focused on habits, and then the part two we're gonna talk about. It's gonna be really focused on community and the dying influence the influence that technology is had on this human necessity to engage with other human beings in real life. I think it's so important to talk about. So we'll have part two of this episode of this podcast on that, because it's very, very important. Guys, I appreciate you. I love you very much. If you like what you heard, do me a favor and share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Pass it along. If you're really feeling up to it, give us a 5-star rating and write a nice review. Other than that, I love you. I appreciate you. Until the next one, y'all. Peace.